If Russia chooses to invade Ukraine, the financial cost would be extremely high. Senate Republicans and Democrats are working together on a sanctions package they believe could deal a devastating blow.
It's to include a variety of elements, massive sanctions against the most significant Russian banks, crippling to their economy, meaningful in terms of consequences to the average Russian and their accounts and pensions.
According to Senator Menendez, these sanctions go beyond any ever levied, although some experts worry they don't go far enough.
And I do think the sanctions that they're discussing are important, but I don't know that by themselves it is sufficient to cause the kind of effect on the Russian economy that is going to be needed if we are to truly make Putin think twice.
Marshall Billingsley, former Assistant Secretary for Terrorist Financing at the Treasury Department, says U.S. sanctions should go after 4 key Russian exports.
And here I'm talking about timber. I'm talking about machinery parts and tools. We don't buy any of this stuff really from Russia and the U.S., but they do export it around to Europe. I'm talking about metals and other kinds of chemical products like fertilizers and plastics.
According to Billingsley, those 4 sectors account for about 30% of the extra money Russia brings in each year. He believes targeting them would cause a massive inflation spike and potentially jeopardize Putin's power. Billingsley argues rather than waiting to respond to an invasion, the Biden administration needs to act now.
Because the financial ripples that would create would be immediately felt in Moscow, and it just might cause him to take a step back and reconsider.
As the U.S. prepares for various scenarios, a growing number of Americans wonder why we should be involved at all. Billingsley points to Russia's role as a major energy exporter.
If they invade and then sanctions, even sanctions on banks, would have the effect of disrupting the energy trade, and we will see an immediate spike in gas prices at the pump.
There's also the fact that Ukraine is one of the world's leading exporters of things Americans use on a daily basis, like wheat, potatoes, and tomatoes.
The last thing we need is a scramble around the world to buy potatoes because the Russian potato farms are now or the Ukrainian potato farms are now under Russian occupation, and the farmers have all fled.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo emphasized the same point.
Almost a third of the wheat, red winter wheat that travels across the world, comes out of Ukraine and Russia and goes through the Black Sea, the very thing that is being threatened by Vladimir Putin. These things matter to the global food supply. If you're living in the outskirts of Las Vegas or Bakersfield or in Tennessee or Georgia or in the upper Midwest, you depend on these stable food supplies.
Finally, Billingsley points to the U.S. long-standing commitment for democracy.
This discussion about letting the democratic country of Ukraine fall prey to a dictator like Vladimir Putin is not what we as Americans should stand for.
As lawmakers work to finalize their sanctions package, Billingsley warns that unprecedented acts of aggression warrant a truly unprecedented response. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.